Hi everyone. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to start making kind of weekly videos that I send out to you that provide an overview of some of the things that we're going to be working on in class. One, because this just kind of gives me a way to interact with my students a little bit more. I am uh, I have taught online classes before. It's something that I'm used to doing, but it's definitely not my preference. I prefer to be able to see people's faces and actually like talk to people and get to know them. So this is a way for me to maybe make our class feel at least a little bit more interactive. I also know that there are a lot of people who might struggle to just read over all of the instructions for things and not really hear those instructions explained. So these videos are going to be completely optional. You don't have to watch them. But if you're more of kind of an auditory learner, you feel like you process better if you can hear things, these may be a useful tool for you. So you should be able to see my screen here, and I'm just going to walk you through the stuff that we're doing during week 4. I won't necessarily read through every little thing here. I'll be reading some things, other things I'll be providing just kind of an overview about. I don't plan on including anything in this video that isn't included elsewhere. So there's not going to be any secret special information or anything in these videos. Um, just sort of a way for you to get your instructions via another format. So, talking about week 4 here, which is going to be September 21st through the 27th. This week focuses on self-assessment, finishing writing project 1, and then also reflecting on writing project 1. I'm going to go ahead and read through this kind of lecture section that I have at the top of the weekly module here. After reading over your peer reviews and making revisions to your work, you are nearly ready to submit your final draft. However, prior to that, you will assess your current draft. As you do this, ask yourself how a reader might answer these questions about your writing. Next, you will begin work on your writing project 1 final draft. Lastly, you will write a brief reflection that asks you to consider your writing process as you completed writing project 1. The self-assessment you complete this week should give you a good idea of how closely your work adheres to the writing project 1 guidelines. Once you've worked through the self-assessment, you should have a clear plan developed to guide you through to the end of this first major writing assignment. As you complete your writing project 1 preliminary final draft, keep in mind that any direct quotes or paraphrases from the text must be cited, both in your paper using in-text citations and, accidentally clicked the link there, let me go back, and on your works cited page using proper MLA format. If you need a refresher on MLA citations, review Chapter 52, MLA Style, in the Field Guide. It's Chapter 54 in the 5th edition, the newer edition, the Blue Book. You can also visit the library's MLA Citations Guide, which is the link that I accidentally clicked a moment ago. Looks like this. Your first step for this week is some readings from the Norton Field Guide. I'd like you to read the chapter on assessing your own writing, which is chapter 31 in the 5th edition book, and then also the chapter on editing and proofreading, which is chapter 33 in the 5th edition book. So as the titles of these chapters suggest, these chapters focus on you kind of taking stock of your own work, seeing how well you've accomplished the goals that you set out for yourself, and making sure that you are presenting a polished final product. In step 2, you're going to be putting some of these ideas from step 1 into action. You're going to be assessing your writing. For this assignment, you need to step back from your work and assess how well it fits the requirements listed in the Writing Project 1 assignment sheet. So after reading those chapters listed in step 1, you should consider your rhetorical situation, which is on pages 343 and 344 in the 5th edition textbook, and also examine the text itself. Consider your focus, consider the support you provide for your argument, consider the organization that you've selected, and make sure that you are checking for clarity. That's on pages 344 to 347 in the 5th edition book. After responding to each question, take a few moments and write out what changes you need to make to your Writing Project 1 draft before it's ready for your final submission. I'm fine with you writing this in paragraph format, or if you want to list it as bullet points, that's fine as well. Now, there's a couple of things to kind of keep track of here. You have these two things, these 2 bullet points, and notice that you are being asked to respond to each question. And I know that there's quite a few questions here, so this may actually take a little bit longer than you might expect. I don't need you to be super duper thorough in your responses, but I need you to be thorough enough for me to kind of understand what you're saying. And once you've answered all of those questions for these 2 bullet points here, write down the changes that you think you're going to make for Writing Project 1. So that's everything that you need to do in step 2. In step 3, you're going to be completing your draft. Remember to take a look at any sort of pre-writing, planning, brainstorming work that we've done in class. It'd be a good idea to read through the sample essay that it was provided. And it never hurts to read through the Writing Project 1 assignment sheet again, even if you've already read it 1 or 2 times before. And once you've taken a look at those things, then you'll be ready to jump in and draft your final paper. And here's some things for you to remember as you do that. It needs to be at least 1,000 words, and that doesn't include your headings, your title, your works cited page. This essay should feel a little bit like a conversation between you and the author you selected. You are not being asked to include any other sources in this paper. Your essay should ideally be a 60-40 or a 50-50 split between your ideas and the thoughts, ideas, and experiences from your author. Remember to include in-text citations whenever you quote or paraphrase anything from your selected essay, and you'll also need to create a works cited entry for that source as well. Once I grade your paper, which it'll take me 1 to 2 weeks to get that back to you. I'm teaching a handful of different classes. I have quite a few papers to grade, so it may take me up to 2 weeks to get that grade back to you. But once you do get your grade back, you'll have a week to revise your paper. And once we get a little bit closer to that time, I will send out some revision guidelines, some things I'd like you to do if you want to revise your paper. And also remember that if you don't submit a final draft this week, you'll get a 0 on the assignment, and you won't be allowed to revise. So this is, turning in your final draft isn't a huge deal right now. You need to turn it in, but if you don't get a super good grade on it, you can always revise. The thing is if you don't turn in the draft, then you aren't able to revise and you get a 0, which will have a very bad impact on your overall grade for the class. Step 4, you have a couple of discussion board posts that you need to do. Your first post is due by 11:59 on Thursday. When your paper is finished or close to it, you should take a few minutes to write a reflection on your writing process. What was easy about the paper? What was difficult? Talk about what you liked or didn't like. What was your favorite part of it? What kind of grade do you expect to get and why? I find that it's often a good idea to reflect on how well you've done with a project. That way you're more likely to take things away from the process. You're more likely to learn from kind of the lessons that you encountered along the way. So pausing to kind of self-reflect is, in my opinion, an important part of the writing process. Your second post, you should look through the reflections that your classmates posted, and I need you to comment on 2 of them. In your responses to your classmates, you're doing this for each classmate, you should 1, explain how you were able to overcome any challenges that they encountered. So it may not have been a challenge for you, but if someone else found something challenging, talk them through any suggestions you might have for overcoming that challenge. And then part two, you need to discuss how their ideas might help you with future drafts. So did they do anything that you found interesting or valuable? Is there anything that you can kind of take away from their approach to the writing process that might help you in a future project? And that's pretty much it for this week. The last two things here are just submitting your work. In step 5, you need to turn in the work that you did for the activities this week, specifically step 2. I'm skimming through real quick. Yes, that's the only thing that besides the discussion board, step 2 is the only work that you need to submit here. You're just submitting all the writing that you did for step 2. And now step 6 is when you're actually going to submit your final draft. So there are 2 separate submission links here. Here you're submitting the work you did for step 2. Here you're submitting the work that you did. You're submitting your final draft, writing project 1 final draft. And you'll see here I provide some instructions for how you should submit this and how you should label your work. I think that is all for now. I think this is a fairly straightforward week. Feel free to email me if you have any questions or concerns, and I would be happy to help you out.